Maybe. It's close enough to the poll. Maybe.
What'd you get?
34. Yeah, 30 something. 34.
So hit that box.
You want me to put a paper?
Oh, paper might be good.
No,
Yeah.
there's a paper.
Awesome. I was kind of like checking my phone every time
More
I because I
accurate.
felt
I
like
just
it was
got
going
off
to
that
go up,
box.
and then this happened, and then
Does
I
this-
almost
does this paper
brought me a
work?
wave of calm.
Oh, also
You're
use
like,
the-
oh, good, something did happen.
Something did happen. I knew
Yeah.
this was. I needed the breaking news.
Yeah, I understand that.
Settle.
Yeah.
How are you? You have one last night? Oh, did you cover the?
I got 35 now.
Yeah. I saw that this morning.
Yeah, that was, I'm gonna be really honest, I kind of forgot about it. I didn't vote until yesterday. I was like totally,
Already good on the
first
list.
citizen.
Yeah, I get about 35.
Well,
So
I didn't vote till
Probably
yesterday.
Yeah,
consider
I
that
kind of
gallery.
forgot that voting was like.
Did the 56 that was not pretty. Or 32 that was not pretty.
Yeah, so progress.
No.
Just living life.
11 every day.
I just didn't do literally any of it until.
Jayla.
I'm good.
This is what Jayla did.
Literally Tuesday.
That story was so good. I was like, I was kind of like,
Crazy.
wow, like there are a lot of people rejecting.
Well, why do you think
Also,
the thing I had
yeah, right. Is it a word?
Oh, the things that
Yeah,
look like
yeah,
wild.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I read the comment. I really like oh my god, no, there's so much going on.
there's a lot happening right now.
I look for
It's
signs
only
of
Sunday.
those
I
looking
want-
at
I
how
want
long
to
wait
see
lines, so I can just like stand in line.
I don't know
and,
who I can
like,
get
I'm
rid of.
aware that it's
We gotta put in some.
Yeah.
well, it's like we don't do like
Really?
especially
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
like whoever's yourself until they don't get time to do it.
You have to just leave everyone in the dark.
Well,
Say, we're gonna.
hopefully it's
I
like.
haven't changed my life at all.
Oh, this is mine got
So,
yeah, one of them. Very exciting. I do know I'm very worried.
Do they make you guys pay for your own entries or do they cover it?
No, they covered it this year, but this was the
I'm
first
glad
year.
you're clear.
This was the first year we've ever entered into.
Make the line.
Or,
I like
this is
me.
the-
Especially now.
I'm so sorry, go ahead.
Well,
Well, it was like the same though because,
When I went to
but we're hiring.
20 minutes. Like 20 minutes. I like when it happens, because like maybe like maybe we should just have it there.
good.
If we had some like after work.
Oh, cool.
Just like another 40 minutes.
We kind of fill gaps that
Because it was like, we have to be prepared to
like we don't check.
but I was like, what if we can win it? Like, that's great for us. We never won this.
But, and they're like, hey, they're having like,
I think I need to hire a lawyer.
Everyone's ready, right?
You know,
we already get off
like,
later on.
I mean, because they did enter. That's cool.
yeah.
That's awesome. You guys have moved it.
I mean, this is the first shot,
Right.
so
Mhm.
First station is
this is, we'll cover one.
Yeah,
But
a lot of work.
like costs
What anything.
after, yeah, costs kind of
Submitted by the.
But we end up paying for most of it.
Like my new driver mentioned only $16 that she would.
What'd you do with
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was like.
bench has like a little placard on the side.
Yes,
Like that could be, I don't know, the story on that.
that is very true. So that
But
was
was that,
something I would
was
like.
that
so I report every week.
intentionally left out or?
So the sculpture came after the bench.
They always do that.
You know, that's because they're
So. Nothing to do with where they put it?
Well, I have a photo of the mercy cover and then like Google Map like it was in honor of, and then I put their obituaries.
Are you loving it?
Yeah, I really am. But it didn't seem like that, and I just kind of was following that part. Yes, but I will. I kind of want to.
It could be a whole new.
It could be. It could be.
Sorry,
I got it.
No.
But I was there, it's like yours, I left the intermission, my girlfriend's home, by the way, she went at KTS.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
way.
so, free tickets, we got the HEB.
Oh,
I've been before to KTS. I didn't go to class.
Yeah.
So fun.
He missed the Olympic story.
I know,
She
well,
actually
bad,
had the
his,
best one.
no,
She did.
there's the involved.
It was so, Olympic story, Olympic
Was it the,
yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
you should have.
Someone asked, there's gonna be a YouTube video, you guys should watch it. Her story was so good. I just like, I keep thinking about it and laughing. Some guy was like, I swear to God, I saw an elf when I was driving to the airport really early in the morning in 2019. Like, no one believes me.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I saw this. Everyone who thinks it's like a demon, I know it's an elf. Like, please help look for the best picture. Anyway,
It's gonna be on YouTube.
it's going to be on YouTube. Wait, her story there.
Are any other versions of what you guys did, like, available anywhere, or is it like, one night you were there?
It's very mysterious. It's a big race sometimes.
Cause yours should be like, yours.
Yeah.
That's so
But-
funny. You're like, okay, I'm good.
Or,
My story was
like the tree creature, not that much exposure.
well, they're all gonna go on YouTube. Like they have like
Yes,
it's on
and then they were here until like midnight.
it's I think on
You have to log into ISD.
I'm like, oh.
Hey.
Alright. No, I think it's
Hello.
open.
I used to get like so frustrated.
You'll have me on this seat?
Wherever you sit, yeah, we'll be in the mic.
Yesterday I was,
Whichever chair you
yeah, I
like.
prefer this chair.
Eats than last time when we all hooked you up with
Yeah,
bajillion ones.
this must be KUT.
Hello.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I turn this on?
Sure. Does Fox 7 want to move their thing over here?
Yes.
Is that helpful?
That's kind of handy, though. I guess you can move it over there.
I can do a
Okay.
little, one second, take you off.
Okay, so I heard that a couple of y'all want to go live.
Yes.
Is that 100% needed? Can we just do it and then have a package later?
I mean, they just told us they were gonna be streaming it on the web for whoever's there, I don't know
Okay,
how fast we can get an answer on that and,
just live on the web.
yeah,
Okay.
not on air.
It's not on
just
air, it's just.
throwing it on the website for whoever's.
Okay, but y'all are going to package it later, like a full story?
A full
Yes.
story.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's, okay, so whenever we are ready, is everyone good? Yes,
Good,
okay. So introducing our superintendent, Mattia Segura. Last night we sent a message about the postponement of part of the plan. Want to be really clear about that it is not the full plan that is being postponed. And so I just want to hand it over to our superintendent to talk y'all through that and then answer any questions.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody being here. I've been in this role now between interim and permanent going on almost 3 years. And one of the things that I've always believed in my previous role, every effort that I've ever undergone, is that process matters. I've said that from the beginning of every process I've led here in Austin ISD, and that was certainly the case whenever we took on this work starting back in February of this year. Right, want to be really clear, these are our timelines, this is the process we're going to go through, this is the data we're going to use, this is how we're going to incorporate changes and refinements, and ultimately move to a decision point in November. I am someone that will make hard decisions. I am someone that will do what's best for this school district. I love this school district. I love this city. But integrity of the process has to be held throughout the entire process, or else it's difficult for me to provide my support in taking it forward. And so where we are now is immense amount of work has been completed by lots of people, and this work is so thoughtful with the complexity, the approach that we've taken, the community feedback that we've gotten, but we're at a point now based on information that the administration has received where I have concerns about our ability to be responsive to the ideas that community has brought forward. And when we talk about what that means, I've been very clear, like every idea I want to explore. I tell our community if I believe that there's an opportunity to develop it, we are going to spend the time and we are going to analyze it. And if I don't think it will work, I'll tell you that it can't, and here are the reasons why. I'll also share with our trustees, is it moving us further away from our target and our goals, or closer to it, and be really honest when that happens or when it doesn't. And so over the last couple days, based on that information, it became clear that some of the refinements around boundary changes and the consolidations tied to balance enrollment, had not met kind of my expectation when it comes to exploring all ideas that had validity. And so when I think through the magnitude of this decision, it was important to me that when I go to our trustees and when I go to our community and I make a recommendation, that I believe in every aspect of how we got here. And I know that and I feel that way for the 10 consolidations that we are proposing, the wall-to-wall dual language programs, the turnaround plans. But more work needs to be done to ensure that I am confident that community voice has been brought into the process in a way that I can support, which is why that Palm Elementary School, Briker Woods, and Maplewood, which were not part of the TAPS, but part of the balanced enrollment effort, along with the other boundaries, right, hundreds and hundreds of boundary changes, are going to be delayed until next year. We're going to take a vote on November 20th. We're going to progress the work, develop the implementation plans, ensure that we're successful at the launch of 26-27. In the spring semester, we will focus on our academic plan and academic vision. And then in the middle of the spring semester, towards the end, we will pick up the boundary change and school consolidation process. Again, now that the progress has been progressed on academic vision and academic alignment, we'll pick it up, move it into the spring semester, summer, and create the space to ensure that when we get back here, all voice has been incorporated, all the analysis has been completed, and I can stand behind that work product and ensure that what goes forward is in the best interest of the district. So that's where we are. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have. This is a hard moment. I'm someone who understands what changes like this mean. I'm also someone that understands how it can be, thought of and felt throughout the community. I am someone that believes in process, and everything has to be done in a way that I can support if I'm going to take it to our board and to our community. And I feel like that with much of the plan, which is why that's going forward. But other elements, which I just described, we need more time to ensure that I can support it.
First question over here. So in your letter, you said in the past few days, members of the community have brought forward significant concerns about the integrity of specific individuals leading the process of applying community feedback to the updated plan. You guys said you're taking those concerns seriously and are going to thoroughly investigate those claims. Can you tell us what department is investigating, who's being accused, and what role did the accused party play in putting that feedback out there?
Yeah, well, many of the questions that you answered, I'm not going to be able to answer. That you asked, I'm sorry, that I'm not going to be able to answer because an investigation has started. What I can say is that, it is a collective team, right? So no single person informs all of the work. That's the honest truth. But there are individuals who support the work, who are close to the work, and that is, where the focus of the investigation is. But I am not able, because of our policies and procedures, to share much more than that. An investigation has started. We are in that process. My focus is in making sure we have extreme clarity on steps forward, being honest with our community. When I have the information I'm able to share it, and also at every step along the way ensuring that our Board of Trustees is aware and informed.
Can you tell us what department is investigating though, and whether the individuals are on administrative leave or anything like that?
There are divisionally, there are 2 divisions that are kind of incorporated because we have 5 divisions, right? So operations and communications.
Sorry, I just want to clarify that. So she was asking who was investigating.
Who is conducting the investigation? So the investigation is going to be conducted internally. We have our Office of Professional Standards, which is within our Talent and Strategy division. They perform all of our internal investigations unless it is of a senior cabinet member, and in those cases, we go external for those investigations. They can be costly, if we go external, but this is a standard practice for us. We have a department that's well equipped. This is a priority, and so it'll be conducted by our operations, our Office of Professional Standards, which is within our Talent and Strategy division, which is a different division than those 2.
And I'm sorry, just to clarify, I'm so sorry. Are they on administrative leave, any of the individuals who are being accused? Just to clarify, and if you can't answer, I understand.
So staff I've made decisions to make changes to the structure of the team.
Do they have a personal stake in this? Is that part of the problem?
I'm not gonna. I don't have the ability to say that.
And I just want to clarify, the departments that you mentioned before the question was clarified, are those the departments of individuals of which the concerns were raised?
Correct.
So operations and communications.
Correct. Yeah.
Multiple people.
I will, it's.
I think we just can't give a lot of details about the investigation. So
Yeah.
I think that as much as I know a lot of y'all want those details of like how many and who and like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be clear, there are lots of people working on this plan, right? Y'all see how large and complex this is. This is not, an effort that can be progressed by 1 or 2 individuals or 3 or 5. I mean, it really, truly is a comprehensive team. Lots of people working really, really hard. So, I just don't want to set maybe the understanding that this is something that influences the entire plan, right? I really want to be clear. We're talking about refinements. We're talking about taking community voice. We're talking about making adjustments, which is why I feel comfortable moving forward with the schools that we have, and we'll be revisiting this in the spring semester.
But there is why these concerns that were brought up by community members were not noticed or seen earlier in the process, and what the turning point for you was in your decision making about why this needed to change?
I would say that there was no evidence that was a concern previously. That's just there's nothing that I had that would give me any concern. We in this district, we maintain the highest standard when it comes to how we engage and how we respond. And, I think our community has seen that with how we work here in Austin ISD. It's very different than most school districts. As you go through a process, I'm always listening. I'm seeking to understand. And like anything else, anywhere else in Austin ISD, whether it's a school or another division, if it comes my way and I have concerns and there's enough there for me to make a decision to investigate, then I'm going to do that, right? And so this is no different than what would have occurred or could have occurred in any other aspect of our organization, and it does happen. We're almost 11,000 employees. And I want to be really clear, it's an investigation. That's what we're doing. It's an investigation. So that's what I would say. There was nothing prior to that would lead me to think differently.
Could you explain why Maple, Palm, and Riker Woods were originally being considered for closure, and what has changed since that initial proposal to where the district is no longer moving forward with those three campuses closing?
So to be really clear, we're still going to do the work. I don't want anybody to leave here to think that we are canceling. We are doing anything other than taking the milestones and deliverables and breaking them up over 2 years versus one. I would say that when you think about the work as a whole, there were different aspects of the work that we wanted to make sure were part of the work, right? Feeder pattern alignment. We talk about programmatic alignment, dual language programs, Montessori. We talk about, acknowledging that we have too many seats in the school district, 20,000 plus. And so, and also the fact that we have accountability responses to the agency by way of turnaround plans that we have to be responsive to, right? We have to do it, and we will do it. And so, when it comes to these three schools, they were not tied to a turnaround plan, right? So the turnaround plan was largely informed by academics. It was informed by the work that we're doing with our school principals, is work that we're doing to ensure that we're responsive to the agency. When it comes to programmatic moves, it was alignment with where our emergent bilingual student populations were. It was an effort to ensure that in the future, whenever we have to make hard decisions around staffing, we had a large enough student population to ensure that the dual language certified teachers remained at that program. So each of these elements and kind of areas of focus were arrived at with different skill sets, different individuals, different people that all had that subject matter expertise. When I think about these three specific schools, I would also pull in all the other boundary changes, right? I think about balanced enrollment. So we were able to identify opportunities to reduce the number of seats with the consolidations tied to the turnaround plans and the programmatic moves, right? There's still 10 schools, just to be clear. There are 10 of the 13 that we are still continuing on, and I am recommending for consolidation. These were independent of turnaround plans and programmatic moves, and were more closely aligned to the overall boundary shifts, right? So there are lots of other boundary shifts in Austin ISD, and that was a function of balanced enrollment, where we have seats, where our schools are, and where students live. And so in that way, these three were just a different aspect of the work. They contributed to the 13, but because of kind of what the driving kind of goals were that led to those recommendations, coupled with the other boundaries, that's why they were pulled off.
And are you saying you could still choose to close these schools later, just not next school year?
No. So correct. So when you say next school year, you mean the vote being taking place this year versus next year. So correct. So again, we still have a deficiency in the number of seats. We have a surplus, right? We have too many, which means our cost is too high per seat and per pupil in Austin ISD. I have to drive that number down if we're going to ensure that we have a thriving school system that actually is only dependent on the revenue streams that are protected, right? That's the goal. So in the spring semester, when we pick this up, yes, consolidations are still going to be part of the work. Yes, boundary change will still be part of the work. That has to continue because we have not got to a point where I can say with certainty that the budget risk, our ability to support all of our students with the resources they need has been met. So that will continue.
What does the work look like moving forward from here for those schools that are delayed until next year?
Yeah, so one of the things that's happening right now is, we are in a complex spot, right? Because as we've said before, every change that we have impacts an adjacent school and that potentially impacts another school because of student movement. And so right now we're really focusing on the turnaround plans. We're focusing on the wall-to-wall dual language programs and the moves associated with those to get those right from a student movement perspective, now that some of the other changes that were going to occur around it by way of boundary changes is going to be delayed, right? So I have to kind of make sure that those moves still work, which we know that they will, but they may look slightly different. So I want to make sure that we tackle that first. I also have to make sure that we are responsive to the ideas that our board brought to the administration. So for those of you that were following along last Wednesday, we had a work session. There were ideas brought forward that I have to explore, right? And you can name what those are, but there are several in there that require resources, analysis, student movement, so we're going to progress that. For the boundary changes and for the consolidations that are tied to balanced enrollment, those 3 schools we just named, what we're going to do is allow next year to continue as though they did this year, revisit this effort after the academic vision and academic plan have progressed through January, February, and March. At that point, we will have already built out our implementation plans for the schools that are closing for 26, 27. So that won't be another pressure in the system. Then we are hired. We are moving forward with the launch of 26, 27. We then pick up the consolidation and the boundary change process that is already, in a very good place. I want to be really, really clear. A lot of work has been done. A lot of thoughtful adjustments have been done. We're not starting from scratch. It is really an effort to go back and make sure that we didn't miss anything, because we are making generational decisions here. Like, these are big decisions that are going to impact our students for decades to come. I want to make sure that the right decisions. I understand there's going to be impact, but I need to make sure that we have the time and that all voices brought into the process. So in the spring, we'll pick it back up. We'll go through the another round of engagement through this late spring and summer, spend fall, building them out, refining, and then get back to a vote, and perhaps even October of next year, opposed to November, but sometime in the fall of next year we'll bring it back around. But this time around, we will have the wall-to-wall language programs already moved. We will have the turnaround plans already set. Like, there will be more certainty, which will allow the process, I think, to be what it needs to be to ensure community voice gets in the way that it needs to be. Is that helpful?
The district has said at the beginning of this process that it was necessary to go through this scale of change at this time, in part for the financial health of the district. So given this significant change, what is the plan to ensure the financial health of the district for the next year? Yeah, so just to be clear, we're still closing 10 of 13. I want to be really, this is not a shift, it's not 3 of 13, it is 10 of 13. The majority of the schools are continuing on towards closure and consolidations. When you think about the total reduction in costs, 24 million conservatively, there will be an adverse impact to that. The number will my hope is that it stays about 20 million, but it may peak below it. But it'll still be a meaningful impact. I want to be, it's still going to be very meaningful and very important that we progress on this timeline and not make any adjustments moving forward. The other thing I'll say is this district has been working really, really hard to reduce our budget and our expenses throughout the year. I know, Carrie, you follow our board meetings, and last board meeting we presented that at this point, given our budget, we're $25 million ahead, right? So we are doing everything. So yes, there's going to be an adjustment. Am I frustrated that I'm not able to maintain the timeline? Yes, I'm extremely frustrated because these risks are real. The decisions have to make, but I cannot sacrifice the process because these are generational impacts. But I do feel that there is still significant, meaningful kind of investments to be made out of the cost reductions that we're seeing. And again, 10 out of 13 are still continuing. 10 out of 13.
Superintendent Seguda, we were at a rally this morning. There's going to be another rally later today. There's some families who are saying maybe we weren't loud enough compared to some of those other schools that are now off of that closure list, at least for now as that plan evolves. What is your response to those parents?
Yeah, so we've been clear, it's not about the loudest community. If that were the case, then the 10 that are on would look very different. And I think that, I can say that with extreme certainty. It's been about process. It's about thoroughness. It's about relying on our values and principles to take the next step. Being loud is not going to be something I'm going to respond to. I've been in lots of community meetings. There's been lots of conversations, and I love that our community shows up. Like, I mean, honestly, I love it. The one place I do not want to be is in a space where community does not show up, right? Because these are important decisions, and we love our students and we love our schools, and that's what makes Austin ISD awesome. It makes us like incredible. Not all school districts have that, and so I want to just acknowledge like how much I appreciate that our families do have rallies and do show up, but it does not change like our objective and our North Star in ensuring that every student in Austin ISD gets the resources they need to be successful, and ensuring that we move towards having strong neighborhood schools everywhere in Austin. So, that's my response, and I think the data and the plan that we have at this interim milestone demonstrates that it's not just, loud voices. That's not who we are. It's not who I am.
Okay, we'll take like 2 or 3 more questions.
And just for clarification, is the investigation that the ISD is having at all regarding these 3 schools and the decision to postpone them?
So it's not about the decision to postpone them. It's a function of, as a process, as a system, when we take community feedback and input, as we refine, right? It's refinement. It's not the body of work, it's the refinement. I need to ensure that those ideas are thoroughly vetted, analyzed, and brought to me for consideration. If I cannot assure that that's happening, then I can't ensure community voice is in the refinement stage is incorporated to a degree that meets my expectation. And so that's the focus. It's not a function of the schools, it's a function of the effort that we were in around the balanced enrollment effort, which includes boundaries. Because I know that we're focused, y'all been talking about the 3 schools, but honestly the boundary changes and the comments around the boundary changes and the work around the boundary changes is, from a overall work effort perspective, much greater. So that's what it stems from.
Okay, you can go, and then Sammy can be our last one.
Question about how this relates to the 2022 bond program.
Yeah.
So have those projects at 13 schools been paused, and if so, will that pause continue for these 3 schools that are delayed?
Yeah, so when we talk about bond programs, a lot of individuals equate that to modernized facilities, like big projects, right? And we incorporated in our rubric the impact of those investments at these schools, right? So if you go back, you'll see that we went ahead and assumed that the schools would be, fully modernized, and we didn't allow the fact that where you were in a timeline to push you up or down a rubric. When we arrived at the decision to introduce a draft plan, that was built upon, the contextual analysis, the data that we had received thus far, the need to address these 5 things kind of all at the same time. And so specifically to your question, modern projects that have already been identified to continue on are continuing on. We have paused some projects that we know are likely to result in a consolidation so that we preserve the dollars, work with our Community Bond Oversight Committee and our Board of Trustees to ensure that those dollars ultimately get to those students, right? Perhaps it's at the school that they're going to be at, perhaps it's the middle school that they will be at in a couple of years, perhaps at the high school that they're going to be at. We have that flexibility. Now we have to go through a process, and there's bond counsel and lots of things associated with it, but that's what we're doing. When it comes to smaller projects, targeted projects, I'm very clear, if our students are in a school, you better believe that we are going to ensure that AC runs, that the security vestibule is installed, that water and that our students are getting what they need to be successful, because when you think about Maslow's hierarchy of need, we need our students to feel safe. We need them to ensure that their needs are being met before they can learn, and much of that is a function of what we provide around them, including the facility. So we are making adjustments. They're very thoughtful in how we're doing them, so those that will continue will continue. If there are small targeted projects, we'll evaluate them, but I never want to communicate and ever be a part of an organization that is not going to ensure that our students are supported in the building where they're being educated. The worst thing that can happen is your AC isn't running. You don't feel safe. and then you're also trying to receive from our educators what they need to be academically successful, that doesn't work. So you'll see slight adjustments, but the current plan will continue on.
Okay, Sammy, last question.
I just wanted to clarify that, because I think some parents are confused about just where their kids decide next year with all of these
Yeah.
changes announced. So there's no changes, everyone is going to be sent for the same school, and then the kids at the 10 closed schools still have the same reassignments as they previously were announced?
Yeah, so
Or are there any changes
that is by and large exactly what's going to happen. If you are if you were associated with a boundary change, right, that was not tied to a turnaround plan or a program move, then what occurred this year and where you were zoned will continue on for one more year, right? Just to be clear, that is true for those 3 schools as well that we named. Now, I want to be just really precise in my response, because now that the other changes aren't occurring around the turnaround schools or around the programmatic moves, there may be some additional adjustments that we have to make to ensure that we can actually implement the plan as previously developed. If that makes any sense.
Timeline for like an updated plan?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, there's a lot happening in this organization based on the adjustment we're making in timeline. I'm going to be sharing with our trustees kind of an update to the timeline. There are things that are fixed, like our approval of the board of the turnaround plans to the Texas Education Agency on November 20th, and boundary changes have to be approved before the end of the semester. So we're working through that now, but I have heard that based on the letter last night, more clarity around what our schools who are not part of the current work, what they can expect moving next year, and we're going to make that adjustment in how we communicate before the end of the week.
Okay. Thank y'all so much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Do you have any mics on you?
No mics. Let me go. Thank you all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.